Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. I'm Pinky Webb. Today on the program, lawmakers to conduct a probe on the massive airport technical glitch on New Year's Day that affected hundreds of flights and stranded thousands of travelers. Also a call to give full compensation to affected passengers of the airport fiasco. And later, what measures are in place to make sure that a similar incident won't happen again. CAAP Deputy Director General for Operations Edgardo Diaz joins us in the program. High-ranking officials of the Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines are urged to resign following the Ninoy Aquino International Airport New Year's Day fiasco. Local think tank InfraWatch Philippines says CAAP officials must be held accountable for the shutdown of the country's airspace on New Year's Day. Meantime, authorities or airport authorities expect flight operations to normalize today or tomorrow. Let's go straight to the source of this story. We have Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines Deputy Director General for Operations Edgardo Diaz. Captain Diaz, welcome to The Source. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Good morning. Thank you, Pinky.
So first, let's talk about this internal investigation on this technical glitch that left 65,000 passengers stranded last January 1. Captain, in layman's terms, tell us so far what happened and what has the internal investigation shown?
Well, as what happened during the first day of this month, January 1, we had a power failure that caused the shutdown and stop of the operation of our CNS ATM. CNS ATM is the Communication, Navigation, Surveillance, Air Traffic Management. That is the one that is being used by our controllers as visibility of all the airplanes in our airspace. Likewise, that is the one being used for the communication, outgoing and incoming, so that we can talk directly to the pilots.
Yeah.
So when the power shut down or went down, we lost communication and visibility.
So would it still be correct to say it was a technical glitch caused by a power outage, or is it the power failure caused the shutdown?
It is the power failure that caused the shutdown. Now, the investigation, as you said, is ongoing in order for us to determine the cause of the failure of power.
Okay, so until now, you cannot say why there was a power failure.
The investigation is leading in the direction of our uninterrupted power supply. That is our UPS. It appears that the glitch or the cause of the power outage is because of that equipment, a failure of our UPS.
But, sir, Captain, why was there a power failure to begin with? Because when we talk about power failure, ang una ho kasing naiisip, was it Meralco's fault?
That is a good question, Pinky. So we also got in touch with Meralco to rule out if there was a failure coming from our commercial source, which is Meralco. And in the course of the investigation, we ruled that out, though the investigation is still ongoing.
Yeah. So,
but the possibility of coming from Meralco is something that is remote.
okay, so that we can set that aside for now. Would that be fair to say that Meralco had nothing to do with this? But I guess the question, Captain, remains, if you're getting your power from Meralco and there was not a problem coming from the side of Meralco, how could you have had a power failure if your source of power didn't seem to be the source of the problem to begin with?
And that is now being investigated. No? Now, if there is power, it passes through several equipment. And one of those equipment is the UPS. If there is something wrong with the UPS, then that can cause the cut of power going to the equipment we are using for our CNS ATM.
Opo. Captain, to clarify, when you talk about power, does the power go straight to the CNS ATM, which I want to talk about a little later on, or does it go through the backup, the first backup to the backup 2 to backup 1 to the CNS ATM, or does it go straight to the CNS ATM? And then if there's a problem with the CNS ATM, the UPS takes over, the first UPS and then the second UPS.
No, the power does not go directly to the CNS ATM equipment. It passes through several protective layers. It goes through circuit breakers, relays, and then the UPS is part of that, no, to ensure that we have a stable power supply. But unfortunately, as I've said, in the course of the investigation, they saw that there is something wrong with the UPS. So that is now what they are trying to find out. They are studying the how it operates. I'm not really that technical about it, but our engineers are looking into it.
So there are a number of, how do you say this, sir? Marami pong pinagdadaanan yung kuryente bago po ma-power si CNS ATM. I mean, it goes through a number of layers, ano po. The important part of which would be UPS, which is called the uninterruptible power supply. In other words, whatever happens, from my layman understanding, is that UPS is designed to make sure the CNS ATM works. That's why it's an uninterrupted power supply. So now you're saying that it seems the problem is the UPS.
That is the initial finding. You are correct. No, that's the initial finding. We have two UPS.
Yeah.
And they are both working. One is on standby, or there is a load sharing, or one could be on standby. But what happened is that when one of the UPS failed, then the power should have been absorbed by the remaining UPS.
Yeah.
But then that is the finding. It seems that it did not work. So that is now being investigated.
Captain, are there maintenance checks on these UPS or quarterly checks? What is the safety protocol or standard operating procedure to make sure that these UPS actually work?
The office that is in charge of making sure of the maintenance of our equipment do have a maintenance program, meaning to say there is a regular schedule, regular checking of not only the UPS but all the equipment involved. That also includes the whole CNS ATM system.
And when was
there
it
is
last
a
checked,
regular
sir?
checking
When was it last checked?
daily. Aside from the regular maintenance checkup program, it is also being checked daily.
Does that mean that last December 31, the whole system was checked and there were no problems?
That is correct.
And then it just so happened January 1, a problem occurred.
Yes.
Captain, when is this checked? Because I understand that there is a 1:30 to 3:30 window by which the runway is supposed to be closed. Is this the time that these equipment are checked? And would you be able to tell us how are they checked?
I'm sorry, but I'm not knowledgeable of their maintenance program. When during the course of this investigation, we were informed, and somehow I am quite sure that all of these do have program for maintenance checking, just like any other equipment that we have here in CAAP. Even in our airports, the navigational instruments we use, there are several programs for maintenance checking. As to the time, I cannot give you any information regarding that because I do not know the exact timings, the intervals of the program.
But you can confirm that this whole system was checked the day before the glitch happened.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I want to talk about the CNS ATM, sir, so we understand it better, but we need to take a very short break. When was this inaugurated? When was it actually used? And is it outdated? We'll talk about that after the break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Pinky Webb. Our source today, CAAP Deputy Director General for Operations Edgardo Diaz. Captain Diaz, let's talk about CNS ATM, or the Communications, Navigation, Surveillance System for Air Traffic Management. Mahaba po siya. Sir, is the CNS ATM old, or is the technology old?
I did not get that. Did you say old?
Opo, old or outdated?
Okay. The CNS ATM, it's a 2010 model. No? It was inaugurated 2017, if I'm not mistaken, and it was put online 2018. No? At the time, it was a state-of-the-art, meaning it is the same as what our counterparts are using. It is high-tech, and it serves the requirements for keeping our airspace safe. As to your question, whether it is old, we are constantly upgrading it. No, there are upgrades available in order to keep it on its tune-up or supposed to be purpose for its use. And that is regularly being done. So I would say that this time, this year, it will serve its purpose for as long as we continue to work on its maintenance program.
I'm trying to understand it, sir. So we were showing video of this inauguration of this CNS ATM supposedly in January 2018. We have President Rodrigo Duterte there, former President Duterte. And I understand this was commenced in 2019. So basically you're saying, Captain, this is state of the art. Hindi po ito luma. It is competitive with our neighbors as well. So plain and simple, state of the art, sir.
Yes, that is correct. Now, at the time that was purchased and inaugurated, that is at par with our neighboring countries.
And I understand this was inaugurated in 2018. I don't know, sir. I was doing some research on this, but commenced in 2019. Whether it's 2018 or 2019, in 2023 of January, would you say this is still state of the art?
It requires upgrade, no? As I've said, supposed to be, that was introduced, or we started building or having it 2010. So we can go back to 2010, but it was used 2018, 2019. No? So that is the age of that equipment. But so far, no, as we use it today, it is serving the purpose to keep or maintain our airspace safe. It is very useful to our controllers. With regard to your question, is it old? As I've said, constantly we upgrade so that it will be up to date.
So when you say you constantly need to upgrade this, sir, does that mean it's almost like, how do you describe this better to us? It's almost like upgrading the technology. I don't know, sir, if this would be fair, but para bang yung gamit, the equipment is good, but the technology needs to be upgraded. What is that? Is that annually?
That is, every time there would be a need for the program of the maintenance. No,
Okay.
we get the spares, we get the upgrades as recommended by the suppliers or the manufacturers of our CNS ATM.
So let's
That
talk.
is,
Okay, sir. So now I understand it better. So now that you're saying that in January 2023, would you say that this has been upgraded?
I am not aware of the last upgrading or the recommended upgrade, no, but that is the norm. That every time there is a need to upgrade, we follow that. We do that.
And upgrading this would require what, sir? Would it in require some sort of funding that the DOTR needs from government, sir?
I am sure that there should be funding for that.
But you're not able to tell us when it was last upgraded. Because I guess I'm questioning that, sir, because could its non-upgrade possibly cause that, as you called it, power failure because of the UPS, sir?
No, the source of power or the power failure is not or has nothing to do with
I
the
see.
performance of the CNS ATM.
Okay. So those are
So-
independent of each other.
Yes, that's two different matter.
I see. Okay. What is the lifespan of CNS ATM, sir? Because you were saying that this was conceptualized sometime in 2010. Even Captain Tamayo was saying that. In fact, ang sabi niya, naumpisahan in 2010 but completed in 2018. And I think it was that Sunday press conference where he said, as far as technology is concerned, outdated na. See, this is where it becomes a little confusing, sir. Would you?
Yeah, I think when they mentioned outdated, mean they would mean that it is not really obsolete at this point. No, it just requires some upgrading of some of the features or upgrade. No, it's like applications that we should upgrade or make it up to date, no? But it is working perfectly for as long as we follow all the maintenance program and requirement, no? And that is being done by CAAP.
That's where I'm a little, siguro, sir, questioning this. I know that you're saying that the power failure is independent of the technology, this topic that we're talking about. But if it's working perfectly, but it's outdated, but then it's not obsolete, what is it?
Meaning it is serving the purpose that it is intended, no? It is giving our controllers the information that they require for traffic separation, for communication, for leading them towards the runway to make a safe landing. Meaning the operation
It
it
works.
is intended for
Yeah.
is being served by our current CNS ATM.
So how important is it to always upgrade? If it's right now serving its purpose, it's not obsolete, and it's outdated.
Well, important because that will bring or the function of the CNS ATM will be able to handle the requirements of our controllers. That is the purpose of those upgrades.
Would you be able to tell us, sir, how much? Now, two things, sir, so it's clear. Do we need to update the technology, number one? And number two, How much will it cost?
As to the cost, I have no information regarding that. That is being discussed. And yes, there is also a plan to have another a better version or a newer version of the CNS
I
ATM.
see. So, not just the technology, not just upgrading the technology, we need to, tama ho ba, purchase a new, ganun ho ba yun, CNS ATM?
That is correct,
I
yes.
see. Panibago, from what was spent sometime in 2018 or inaugurated in 2018, 5 years later, 4 to 5 years later, we need to buy a new system, sir?
That is correct. That is the plan. That is now being discussed and in the process of discussing it while we are looking or planning to purchase another system, no, which will stand or independently from what we have now. Then we still have to continue to upgrade and do
Yeah.
our program using our CNS ATM, our current CNS ATM.
But Captain, we spent, didn't government spend about, please correct me if I'm wrong, if you even can say this is accurate or not, 13 billion pesos, was it? Or 17 billion pesos for this CNS ATM in 2018, sir?
I think that amount is more or less correct, no? But as to the exact figure, I'm sorry, Pinky, because I do not know how much they bought it during the
Yeah.
time they purchased that.
Yeah. But the purchase would be, tama ho ba, sir, 2018 kasi yun yung inauguration? Or would it even go...
I think 2010.
I see. I see. Pero talks were ongoing, I think, even in 2008. So there's a lot of stuff actually that can be researched on this. So I guess a question now is, siguro to put this to rest, why would government purchase a CNS ATM to the tune of 13 billion pesos only to have, siguro, change it and purchase a new one 5 years later, knowing that it was inaugurated in 2018? Would there be an answer to that, sir?
Well, it was purchased in the year 2010, no? So if we're talking of now 2023, so that's 13 years ago.
Okay.
So there is always a desire, of course, to have a new technology in our country. Not just to have one, but also to act as a backup. If not a backup, that will be our primary CNS ATM, and what we have now will be our backup.
Sorry, sir, just a follow-up. If it was purchased in 2010, I know this is going way back, sir. If it was purchased in 2010 but then inaugurated in 2018, why did it take that long? Para bang bago po ma-inaugurate, baka po luma na yon. Would that be a safe impression?
Not really. You know, the lifespan, I believe, of this technology would be a minimum of 15 years. No, that's a minimum, and
I see.
I do not know the exact figure, but according to our engineers, no, I think that is the minimum.
All right. We need to take a very short break. We'll be right back. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Pinky Webb. Our source today, CAAP Deputy Director General for Operations Edgardo Diaz. Captain, just a last question on this, just to summarize what we talked about. Is the plan to buy a new CNS ATM because of the technical glitch, or is it really because it is time to change the CNS ATM?
Not really because of what happened, no. That is a plan, I think, that was conceptualized several years ago. Because we do have a CNS ATM, but we do not have a backup for that. So the desire is always to have another CNS ATM
I see.
that will be located not here in Manila, but elsewhere, so that if this one fails,
Opo.
we will have another.
So this CNS ATM doesn't become useless. There will be the purchase of another one will give the country two CNS options. Tama ho ba yon, Captain?
That is correct.
I
Pinky.
see. And which one will be primary? I guess the newer one, if and when it is
Yes.
purchased and inaugurated and commenced.
Correct. That will be the primary, and the other one will be the standby or the backup.
I see. In other countries, ganito ho din ba? Dalawa ho din talaga yung CNS?
In some
ATM.
countries, yes. In some countries, the same as the Philippines.
Okay, all right. Just the last topic, sir. Is this what happened? Is this called force majeure, sir? Because we ask that because we want to find out the rights of the passengers that were affected by this power failure by the UPS that caused a technical glitch, sir.
That is also something that we are trying to determine. That is a subject of investigation. But, you know, machines do break down, and we do not know when. We keep up with our maintenance program to at least ensure that all of our equipment will work and that nothing the same as January 1 would happen. But it happened, and that is now being investigated.
Was the thought of this happening, sir, was it ever considered? Was something like this ever considered in the past?
Yes, Pinky.
How so, sir?
Well, just to give you an idea, no? What if an earthquake happens? Then what would happen to our CNS ATM? So those kind of scenarios, we are prepared for that. Like what happened last January 1, power failure. So we lost communication, we lost visibility. But our controllers immediately applied their contingency plans. And that is to revert to the system before the CNS ATM was put in place. So that happened last January 1. We were able to control the airplanes in our airspace, take them and guided them to land in our airports. So everything was done, and safety was always first and foremost in our operations. So there are contingency plans if our CNS ATM, like what happened last January 1,
Opo.
shuts down, yes.
Well, quick question, sir. When do you intend to end this internal investigation, sir? And must we have an external investigation as well, parallel to this internal investigation?
The internal investigation is ongoing, and we will try to complete it as soon as possible. External, if there would be external investigations, we will welcome it. We will welcome it, no?
All right.
Parallel with what we are doing.
CAAP Deputy Director General for Operations, Captain Edgardo Diaz. Sir, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Pinky Webb. You're watching CNN Philippines.